Shrewsbury Town, obviously, a big game for them, could be a monumental game. How do you think they will approach it, bearing in mind that it's a must win?
Yeah, well, I went to see them Tuesday night against Reading, and I thought they were good in periods. They try and play from the back, which is different to what they've been doing, obviously, with the new manager change, so they do play very differently. But we know it's going to be a tough game because they have to win the game. They have to get something out of the game, if you like, otherwise they're relegated, and any team that's, in their last game before they can get relegated is going to be a hard team to play against. So it'll be an interesting game for sure, but one that we think we can go after and again try and get 3 points. And like the last weekend away at Charlton, I thought we performed well for 60-70 minutes, and it was against a good opposition. This time's a bit different, and we want to take the game to them at home.
And with the results you've had at home, the last few games in particular, barring the Exeter home game, you've managed to beat teams that are down there. You've managed to find a way of doing that. Has that been a big success, do you think, of this second half of the season? You've found that key to unlock that? Yeah,
I think that's been something that we've been striving for and trying to push for, especially at home. We want to try and dominate, and I thought even against Exeter we dominated the game, and even the refs have reported it should have been a penalty, which changes those types of games. So even if you look at all our recent home games, it's probably something that we've been trying to push for all season that we haven't quite landed on, if you like. But we are trying things out. We are changing subtle things to try and give us more impetus, if you like, at home, and long and may it continue. We've got a couple of home games left. Against Shrewsbury and obviously Bolton, and then Wrexham on the last day. So there's some good teams to keep going for, and even though we've got, if you like, nothing to get excited around being promotion, but there's definitely stuff to play for, and against good opposition we want to try and show what we can do.
Yeah, there's still the 3 points to play for, but maybe not the pressure that you've had earlier in the season of going for top six or avoiding the bottom four. Does that, when you talk about the changes, the slight tweaks, does that give you a little bit more freedom, do you think, to try things out?
Yeah, I think so, but on the, when you cross that white line, it's still the same atmosphere, it's still the same, 3 points that we're playing for. So in some ways, yes, but in other ways, for me, it's looking at the players for next season that's really important, the consistency that they show, and some of the players have got a lot to play for. And I think when, it's like making changes that you probably wouldn't usually make, but it's important that, I give the opportunity to a lot of the players to show what they can do. It's up to them to try and take that opportunity and push forward, because there's no better opportunity than playing against league teams before pre-season, if you like. And that's not to say again that this season's over for us. It's not, but definitely we're doing it now with one eye on next season.
You said after the game last week, I think it was, or even pre-match, you talked about the fact that sometimes your squad will have players not in it that might surprise a few people. Have you had to speak with your players and say, this is what's going to be happening, and don't be too shocked if I leave you out of the squad completely?
Yeah, when I thought we couldn't go up, we couldn't go down, it was more a group to say, look, there'll be changes and you have to accept that, and there'll be different reasons for it. So I spoke to all the players as a group, and they've been great, and they know. And I would love to have a bigger bench, because one of the biggest challenges in League One is you don't have enough subs. So sometimes I'll carry more substitutions, more strikers, less strikers, depending on the game and the situation and depending on how we want to play. But you cannot, that's the nature of football, you cannot fit everybody even on the bench that you'd like to see. So I suppose in these moments it would be great to have a bigger bench so that you could see more players, but that's not the case. So you do have to pick, make the changes in the team, but also make the changes on the bench.
And with those changes you're looking at and with the things that you're looking at ahead of next season, is that with a real clear mind of the players you want or the way you want to play?
I think it's everything. I think it's the players. Some players are playing for their next season. Whether that's an option we have on them, or whether that's even if they weren't not here at other clubs. So there's always things to play for in professional football. I don't think it's a case of like grassroots football where it's done and we're all down the pub. I don't think that's the case. It's the profession, and when it's your profession, you have to take care and you have to respect every opposition, and you have to do it to the best of your ability. And that's why they're professional footballers and we're professional coaches, because it doesn't matter if it's Shrewsbury at home or Charlton away. We have to do the same job all the time. But in that sense, we're also looking at how we want to play, and we've changed the system recently, or more consistently changed the system, should I say, and in that there's nuances and tweaks that we're looking at all the time to see how best we can move forward. And of course we'll have a pre-season and things will change, and some players will come and some players will go. That's natural, but we still want to keep moving forward in the type of how we want to look and what we want to look like.
With the players that you've got options on, the likes of Adam Jackson, Sam Clucas, I suppose, is your mind already made up on them? Because you've had them, I mean, Sam's probably the exception to the rule, but you've had them a long time, so I can't imagine what they're going to do in the next 3 weeks is going to really change your mind of going, yes, I want to keep them, or yes, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think it's as easy as black and white in anything like that in football. So, I could argue that for the most of the time I've been here, we've played as a back three. So now asking the centre-halves to play in a back four is different for them. So what qualities do they show, or what competence do they show, and consistency do they show in that? And giving them the opportunity to see that. So, Tom Hamer's come in a back four that he's very rarely played, and he's done very well. So, that's the situation where it's not, for me, it's not just black and white, yes or no. It's a collective jigsaw puzzle that we're trying to piece together, and then obviously through that you have a transfer window that everyone gets excited about, and it's whether we want to keep players in the building, or whether they want to go. Sometimes players that don't want to stay anymore. It's a big moving part. But it's not just A or B for me. It's more to it than that.
Compared to last summer there was quite a bit of movement in terms of loan players that were here and players that left the football club. This year we haven't got that as much. Does that make things tougher?
In what sense?
As in, you don't have as much wriggle room as you might have had last year, when you had probably a bit more.
No, I think I actually quite like a settled squad, to be honest. I think it makes things easier and better, because like you say, what you do know is the characters really well. So one thing I know about this group is they work hard and they're good characters. So I think it's always, whether we can improve them as players over time, and whether that's something they can improve with the way we want to play is always going to be a challenge. But in terms of knowing their character is great. So when you do bring someone in the building, you don't quite know their character, do you? You don't quite know till you've worked with them what they're like. But all of the lads that we've worked with this year have had, great characters, really.
And just on finally, the injured players, Ethan Araha, Jack Moylan and co, any chance of them before the end of the season?
Yeah, so Ethan is very close, might be on the bench on Saturday, so for 20 minutes, nothing more. So again, whether Ethan goes on the bench or someone else goes on the bench is a challenge for me, because I know we'd like to get Ethan going again. So he's really close to being in selection. Jack Moylan's doing really well. He's doing really well. That kid has got, the way he plays the game is the way he does every day in the gym, every day off the grass, and he's doing very well. He's back into team training, although modified. So we could see a bit of Jack before the end of the season. I think the only other thing to speak about is Dom Jeffries. So I think probably everybody realises that he's been struggling with a hip for some time, and been in and out sometimes of the team, not in the squad, and he's done really well. The last couple of weeks he's went to see a specialist. So he's still training and involved, but we're actually waiting for an operation for him. So he's going to have an operation this summer, which is actually going to take him out for quite a few months, probably the whole of pre-season and maybe the start of next season. So that's something that he's found it quite emotional the last few weeks, as you've seen. But it's something that's been in the background for quite a bit, not quite a bit of time, second half of the season, where we know that he's starting to struggle with his hip. I think we spoke about it before, actually. But he is going to have an op in the next few weeks, which is going to put him out for the remainder of the season and the start of the next season. But we think that's the right time to do it now, because obviously missing pre-season rather than doing it at the start of next season, which we could, and he misses most of next season. So I think we're in a really good place in terms of timing with that, but it's definitely something he's got to have now. Injury-wise, I think we're all... Jovan. He's now out for the season, which is disappointing. It's just a hamstring injury. It's 4 to 6 weeks, which nothing major, but won't make games for the rest of the season. On
Dom in particular, as you say, it's been emotionally quite difficult for him. Have you had to really use your man management skills? Because I guess you forget, although he's played a lot of football, he's still very, very young in terms of his career.
Yeah, I think Dom this season he's done great for us. I think he's came in at the start of the season in and out and grew into a role, and then he's been ever present, trains really well, trains really hard, and he's been great. And as he's got into going in the season, he's probably been one of the, if you like, not for me the great surprises, because we see his quality every day, but I think for probably the fans and other people, really big, a really big surprise. But he's been great. And then as time's gone on, he's probably found it a little bit more difficult, as this injury's flared up, if you like, and got worse. He's probably found it more difficult to consistently go from Saturday, Tuesday, which is then for him and us to help with and emotionally manage. And that's where he's, he just wants to play every game. He wants to play every game, every minute. He's that type of character, which is what you want in the building. But we think now the time is right for him to go and have that op in the next couple of weeks. So he might be in the squad Saturday. He might be in the squad the next week. So he's seen a couple of specialists, and we're waiting on the op. So you might see him about, then all of a sudden you don't see him. There's nothing dangerous. It's just he's ready to go on that.